NetsBoy, so let's hear what he has to say. His name is NetsBoy, he thinks the world is all over when the Nets just can't play.
What up, Net fans? NetsBoy here, bringing your latest in your Brooklyn Nets news. Okay, so the Nets are 5-15, and after a disastrous game against the Wizards, just absolute disastrous, I'm looking at this team thinking, Jesus, I have no idea what the hell they're doing out there. But before we go into that, a little housekeeping to take care of. The Nets tried to bring in Montejunas from the Rockets. He was a restricted free agent. They gave him an offer sheet, and the Rockets matched it. I'm sure you probably have heard that already. That's actually a shame because Montejunas could really help this team out a lot. I think yes, he's had the back problems and so on and so forth, but he would have been a good fit with this Nets team, and he would have really helped their front court, which I'm going to be honest, their front court has not been very good outside of obviously Lopez and Booker. Justin Hamilton has really struggled of late, and he's starting to become a little, I don't want to say irrelevant, but he's starting to become there. Scola is what he is. He's just okay. Honestly, I think that Scola should be nothing more than like a third string, big, a guy who gets plugged in if there's an injury. And Anthony Bennett actually hasn't played that poorly yet this year, and actually looked pretty decent the last few games, but he's still not somebody who I trust at the power forward spot. And Chris McCullough is in the D League and never sees the light of day. So the Nets really could have used Montejunas, but unfortunately the Rockets matched the offer, so no Montejunas for the Nets. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what Sean Marks does moving forward with that. But now back about the actual gameplay of the Nets. So the Nets are 5-15, and since my last NetsBoy episode, they won one game. And that game was against the Clippers. Go figure. I mean, that was the one game that I was almost positive the Nets were gonna lose, and somehow they managed to shock the world and beat the Clippers in double overtime. Mostly because the fact that Sean Kilpatrick had an incredible game. I think he had 38 points. He had 30 points in the fourth quarter and beyond, and something like that. It was ridiculous. Great game by Sean Kilpatrick, and somehow the Nets won. And if you were going to tell me that of the games between the Kings, the Clippers, the Bucks twice, and the Wizards, of those 5 games, if you were going to tell me the Nets were going to win one game and it was going to be against the Clippers, I would have said you're nuts. But no, that's exactly what happened. But it just baffles me because I expected them to win at least 2 games of these last 5, and they won 1, and it was against the only team that I thought they were definitely should lose to. So, but the problem with this team is that they look good for the first half, and they look great, and it was no exception that Wizards game, which I think is the worst loss of the year. They played great for the first half, and then all of a sudden, this giant roadblock appears called the third quarter. And oh my God, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't matter who they're playing. It doesn't matter who's out there. It doesn't matter what they do. For some reason, the Nets just fall apart, suck, and die in the third quarter. It's ridiculous. And the Wizards game was the worst of it all. The Nets were up 15 points. 15 at the half. And they get outscored 32-15 to find themselves trailing going into the fourth quarter. I mean, and then, of course, hard-fought game in the fourth quarter, back and forth, and down the stretch. Usually the team with the best player on the court usually wins, which is why that with John Wall and Bradley Beal, the Wizards won. As simple as that. But you look at that game, to be up 15 against the Wizards, who have underachieved significantly this year and have really struggled on the road, you had them where you wanted them. You had them. And somehow, they just couldn't do anything in the third quarter. And this is just an ongoing problem with this team. The Nets have been outplayed and outscored in every third quarter this year but 2. Once against the Timberwolves, which, by the way, they only outscored the Timberwolves by 1. And then 2 games ago against the Bucks, they outscored the Bucks by like 5 or 6, but they still lost the game against the Bucks. The Timberwolves, at least they won that one, but still, 18 out of 20 times in the third quarter, you've been outscored. And it's not just getting outscored, it's getting completely outplayed. I mean, as soon as the third quarter starts, it's an automatic 10-0 run for the other team. It's just, and I don't get it. I don't get it. Are they getting outcoached? I don't think so, because the Nets have had 9 different coaches in the last 8 years, because this is a problem that the Nets have had as long as I can remember. And that's why I bring up the 8 different coaches in 9 years, that shouldn't be the difference, because back when they were the New Jersey Nets, and, way back when they even had Vince Carter, and before that with Jason Kidd and Kerry Kittles, this team always struggled in the third quarter. I remember, I've been a Nets fan for over 15 years, and I remember this team constantly having problems in the third quarter. Constantly. And I'm kind of surprised Ian Eagle hasn't touched upon this more since, he's broadcast the Nets for the last 15 years. And, this is something that has always been an issue with this organization. It doesn't matter if they're in New Jersey or Brooklyn, or they have Jason Kidd, or they have Brook Lopez, or if they have Vince Carter, or if they had Darren Williams. No matter what, this team always can't play in the third quarter. I always remember this issue. And like I said, I don't think it's coaching. I don't think it's getting out-coached, because they've had 9 coaches in the last 8 years. So, no, I don't think it's the coaching, because if it was coaching, you would assume one of those 9 coaches could have figured something out. But no, is it hustle? I don't think so. This team plays pretty hard. I don't think it's hustle. At times it could be, but I don't think it is. I mean, is it skill? Well, yeah, it's a little bit of skill, but you look at the team as a whole, they play well for 3 of the 4 quarters, just the third quarter. So I don't think it's skill. So it just has to be mental. It just has to be mental, because that's the only explanation. They must psych themselves out, be like, oh, well, we played a half pretty well, so now we're just going to go into the third quarter and coast. Well, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. This is the NBA. These are professional athletes. They're professional basketball players. They're going to try really hard. It's unbelievable. And like I said, this is something that's always happened with this organization. Way back in the past, I always remembered the Nets struggling in the third quarter. I always remember them playing well in the first half and then giving up their lead in the third quarter and then having to fight hard in the fourth. And that's why you're 5-15. That's why you lost to the Wizards. Yes, that terrible turnover at the end of the game between, Trevor Booker and Joe Harris, when Booker tried to shove it off to him. That was a terrible turnover, but that didn't cost them the game. What cost them the game was getting outscored 32-15 in the third quarter, a problem that just always seems to happen with this Nets team. And you know what? If they could have just not been this bad in the third quarter, they would have at least 3 more wins. I'm almost sure of it. They'd be 8-12 instead of 5-15 if they just won the third quarter 5 more times. 5 more times won the third quarter. That still means they lost the third quarter majority of their games. But if they won the third quarter 5 more times, they'd have at least 3 more wins. I'm almost positive of it. And this is why this team loses. And it's not, like I said, it's not getting outscored, but it's getting completely outplayed and just beaten up in the third quarter. And, last week I had the good, the bad, and the ugly of the Nets. Well, then there's the super ugly, or the hideous, as I like to call it. And the hideous is the Nets' third quarter play. And it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, look, I don't know what the Nets are going to do to try to fix this. I mean, it's like I said, it's got to be mental. Maybe they just shouldn't go and leave the court at halftime. Maybe they should just stay on the court and start playing 5-on-5 for 10, 15 minutes, and then as a simulation of the third quarter. And so then when halftime comes around, their bodies feel like it's the fourth quarter, and then maybe they can play with some energy or something. And they trick themselves we were out on the court for 15 minutes, so I guess now it's the fourth quarter, when really it's the third. Maybe that's what they need to do. I don't know. I'm just spitballing. Maybe they should just, I don't know. Maybe they should just tell themselves it's the fourth quarter when it's the third. Like I said, I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't have a suggestion of what they should do. They just really just have to start playing better. They just have to maintain the amount of energy that they start throughout the game and maintain it in the third and come out striking. They have to think of it as if it's a brand new game. Maybe that's another way to think of it. Think of it as a separate game. Pretend it's 0-0. That could be an issue. Maybe when the Nets have the lead at the half, they take their foot off the gas because they think they have the lead. Think of it as 0-0, or worse. Think of it that you're down 10 and just come out aggressive. I mean, it's just really, really frustrating. And Brooke Lopez needs to get some damn rebounds. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of this. I wrote a song about this like 2 years ago, and it's still a problem. I don't understand how a 7 foot tall basketball player cannot get more than 5 rebounds a game. And I think he had 6 or 7 yesterday, but that's not good. At 7 feet tall, as a starter, you should accidentally get 7 rebounds just because you're taller than everyone. And it's like, and I don't get it. Like, the ball goes up and Lopez is running the opposite direction or boxing out someone he shouldn't be boxing out or standing around the perimeter and just going, no, ball. And then meanwhile, if he goes to get the rebound, he just puts his arms up, doesn't jump at all, and allows anybody else who's like 6'7" or taller to jump and grab it from him. It's just so frustrating. And the Nets are struggling on the boards. The Nets are still not playing any defense at all. They're giving up still over 110 points a game. They're not doing well on the boards. And they can't play well in the third quarter. And all three of those things have to stop. And look, I get it. Jeremy Lin hasn't played for like 15 games. And yes, that is a huge factor here. If Lin had been playing in any of these games, I'm almost positive the Nets would have 3 to 5 more wins. But he hasn't. And so the Nets need to make up for that. And this Nets team is not this bad. And I know there's other analysts out there be like, but NetsBoy, come on. You should be really happy the Nets have 5 wins because we expect them to win 21 and expect it to be one of the worst teams in the league. And, they're to have 5 wins, you should be ecstatic. No, this team is not this bad. They're not good, but they're not this bad. And, it's just really frustrating. So let's see on moving forward. The next few games for the Nets. They got the Nuggets, which is a winnable game. I don't think they'll win it, but it's a winnable game. Then they got the Spurs, which should be a definite loss, but the Clippers were supposed to be a definite loss, and they won that somehow. Then they got the Rockets. That should be a loss as well. Then they have the Lakers, which is also a winnable game, but Lakers are still a better team. And then the Magic and the 76ers. Magic is a winnable game, and the 76ers, they have to win that game. They have to. To me, there are 4 teams in the league worse than the Nets. The 76ers, though they have a lot of young talent, but I still think they're worse than the Nets. The Pelicans, who have played very well of late, but I still wouldn't believe that team because they're a little inconsistent. And other than Anthony Davis, who is a beast, the rest of the team is pretty mediocre. Then the Dallas Mavericks, who unfortunately the Mavericks are just have a lot of injuries and just haven't played well at all. And then the Phoenix Suns, who the Nets have beaten already this year. And the Suns have a lot of talent as well, but they just can't piece it all together. Those 4 teams, I think the Nets are better than. Yeah, I think the Nets are the 5th worst team in basketball, though their record is currently tied for the 2nd worst. But to me, those are the 4 teams the Nets need to beat. If the Nets ever play those 4 teams, they have to beat those teams. And they already beat the Suns. And so far now, they got a game against the 76ers coming up, and they have to win that one. The rest of the games, like the games against the Magic, the Lakers, the Nuggets, those are winnable games, but I'm not going to expect them to win anymore, okay? I'm not. The only games I expect them to win are the games against those 4 teams, at least at this point. We'll see what happens a couple weeks or 2 down the road. We'll see what happens when Jeremy Lin comes back, which, by the way, there's still no news on when he's expected to come back. But at least Karis LeVert is back. Though he didn't play, he was active for the game against the Wizards, and that gets me excited because I want to see this guy play. I really do. Now, I don't know exactly where he's going to fit in the rotation right now, but I want to see this guy play. But, the Nets need to figure something out in this third quarter, and they need to start playing better. And they need to start playing Chris McCullough. They're burying this poor guy in the D-League. I've never seen a guy who they like so much. Oh, we think Chris McCullough could be a really solid rotational player in the league. Well, then play the guy. Play the guy. Instead, they're playing Anthony Bennett, who, like I said before, hasn't looked terrible, but screw Anthony Bennett. This guy was the guy you wanted on your team. You thought so highly of him. Let this guy play. Jeez. All right. That's enough of that. So we'll see what happens with the Nets moving forward. Hopefully they can figure out this third quarter debacle. And hopefully they can win at least 2 of the next, 5 to 7 games. I'll say, just give me 2 of the next 7. I'll be happy with that. Maybe 3 of the next 7. I'll say, give me 3 of the next 7 games. I'll be happy. But we'll see. I don't even know. This team is so frustrating. Like always. But let me know what you guys think of the Nets so far. What you think they should do to try to overcome this third quarter debacle that seems to just be an automatic disaster. And any other things that you want to say, let me know and comment below. And until the next NetsBoy episode, this is NetsBoy signing off.